Our webinars aim to share the latest technological advancements in the industry. That's why we dive into various tech sectors. We have a fresh theme every month, and steadily we are gaining momentum. Our goal as a platform is to become the leading AI-driven community worldwide, where individuals like you with similar interests can contribute to mutual growth and success. We are committed to organizing industry-backed webinars, hybrid events, some face-to-face events, which is grounded through our knowledge, through the data which we receive from our esteemed industry leaders, subject matter experts, thought leaders, and all our trusted partners. Additionally, we fine-tune our content across various digital platforms, which has newsletters, podcasts, videos, blogs, and it's shed light on the ever-evolving industry which is going on. Now, coming about today's webinar for which you all are here for. As I said in the beginning, a really exciting topic is up for today, which is AI at the helm, navigating cyber threats in the financial sector. Our speakers will provide details and deep dive in few pointers like risk, compliance, cybersecurity, privacy, emerging trends, and lot many which is going around in the banking and financial industry. Our expert panel will share valuable insights and engage in thought-provoking discussions that you won't want to miss out. So let's kick off the discussion with some quick highlights. Meet our community partners for today. We have 4 great companies, which include GM Financial, Equifax, Sonata Software, and InfoVision, who played a crucial role in making this webinar a success. A big thanks to all our attendees. Your time and presence mean a lot to us. We appreciate your being here to achieve your goals and connect with the fellow participants. Our platform's main goal is to help you gain valuable insights and build meaningful relationships. So if you leave with a few innovative ideas or build some new connections in the future, we'll consider a good job from our side. Now let me introduce our esteemed speakers for today's webinar. Our first speaker is Amardeep Singh. He is AVP Global IT Architecture at GM Financial. Our second speaker is Srini Nidamanuru, who is Vice President of Data and Digital Transformation at Equifax. Our third speaker is Sangeeta Naik. She is Program Advisor at Sonata Software. And fourth speaker and moderator for the event is Natarajan Kumaravelu, who is Chief Business Officer handling banking, financial, and insurance domain at InfoVision. Just one-liner disclaimer before we start with exciting panel discussion. The views shared by the speakers are their personal ones, and it's not related to any organization which they represent for. So without wasting any time, let me hand over the stage to Natarajan to begin this exciting panel discussion. Over to you, Natarajan.
Thank you, Nitin, Arvind, and speakers. Good morning, everyone, and I hope the new year is going well for all of you. Thank you for taking time joining us, at this webinar. We have an interesting and most relevant topic for today's discussion, which is focused on AI in cybersecurity for banking and financial services institutions. Across the world and across all industries, probably you'll hear everybody talking about AI and also cybersecurity, given the proliferation of all of the ransomware and cybersecurity attacks across all industries that we have faced in the past couple of years. At InfoVision, we've been providing IT services for close to 30 years now. And for the past couple of quarters, our clients across all of the industry domains are asking us to come up with different use cases where they can pilot or do POCs for or leveraging GenAI to either get efficiencies from their own internal SDLC, software lifecycle and development processes, or for document management, or for customer service. But interestingly, we're also seeing some of the large clients trying to leverage AI to analyze data patterns, access patterns, and attempts to prevent and even predict fraud and intrusion attempts, right? So that's the power of AI. And I believe, my personal view, AI is there to stay for a long term, from a technology adoption standpoint. So everybody is trying to leverage and harness, this power. And even yesterday, we saw the launch of another AI product, DeepSeek, right? So a lot more products are trying to come and trying to take advantage of, across the industry with different use cases and trying to improve efficiencies. So this topic, how we can leverage AI to, cybersecurity to improve and harness and protect and create a robust technology infrastructure is what we're going to talk about in the next, 60 minutes. Because ultimately, banking and financial services companies must prioritize customer centricity, and at the same time, they have to ensure a robust cybersecurity infrastructure to protect and keep the customer information safe. We have already seen, regulations across EU and in the US. Things are happening so fast. So there will be a lot of legal and compliance requirements, right? So banks have to do, banks and all financial services institutions must have to do this responsibly. So today, we have three industry experts and leaders, and they have variety of experience, coming from big banks, worked in different financial institutions, insurance companies, credit unions. So looking forward to hearing their views, their learning experience, and see how and what we can learn from today's discussion. So if from audience you have any questions, post them on the Q&A window and we will address them. So with that, I'll start with my first question, and this open to also, Srini, Sangeeta, Amar, please feel free to chime in. We all know that the BFS industry is heavily regulated, with compliance requirements, legal requirements, and governed by different regulators. And now with the flurry of different Gen AI, technology models, different LLMs, like I said, even yesterday there was, another new product in the market. Usually, our industry is reticent to change or embrace new technology upfront, like we see in other industries, because of the concern, and they're very conservative. So, from your experience, from this industry, how do you think the enterprises can adopt, Gen AI technologies or AI technology in general to leverage for fraud or risk or compliance controls?
Yeah, actually,
Okay. Go ahead,
Srini.
Srini.
I got it. Okay. So every year, fraud costs global economy trillions of dollars. What if we can predict and prevent crimes like before they even happen, right? That's the promise of generative AI. This is not just a buzzword. It is a game changer in the industry. Generative AI is revolutionizing, especially in the fraud prevention and the risk management in the ways like we never thought it's possible. So, especially to give you a couple of examples, generative AI help to identify any kind of a sophisticated fraud ring attacks. By learning from the past data, generative AI can identify especially complex relationships, which our traditional rule management or traditional AI algorithms cannot identify the connections between completely unrelated events, exposing the organized fraud schemes. That's a big advantage. And another thing is deep fakes. By analyzing the video and audio inconsistencies, detecting the device manipulation, like using the behavioral patterns and the biometric information, should be able to identify it. And another thing is automate risk scoring. The traditional model development is going to cost a lot. With using the generative AI, by creating the synthetic transactions, going through that, and especially building the model can be much more efficient and effective, and then accuracy of the models would be much more accurate. So it lowers the cost of model development, which leads to our total OPEX development would be much lower, so that our banking EBITDA can be improved significantly. And other thing is adapting a new tactics using generative AI. Constantly, fraudsters are constantly evolving. Generative AI can quickly adapt and learn new patterns, so that banks and financial institutions can stay ahead of the curve. And but if you look at the results, right, especially companies like American Express, JP Morgan Chase, and PayPal, these companies are using, by using the generative AI techniques, the 70% reduction in the false positives. This means like fewer legitimate transactions are being flagged, and it provides the best customer experience. And also improving the fraud detection rate by 20%. Generative AI is catching more fraudsters and protecting uh, businesses and consumers with the financial losses. And the big advantage is from the fraud analyst standpoint, significant reduction in the investigation team. Similar to Copilot, fraud analysts can go through all these kind of data, analyze it, and should be able to resolve those fraud incidents much more quickly. So definitely, generative AI brings with its own challenges. Like especially, we're going to talk further, like in the conversation about governance challenges, explainability issues, and hallucinations, those kind of things. Definitely, by harnessing the power of generative AI responsibly, we can create a safer and secure financial transactions, and then secure world. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll add something to what Srini already covered. So financial institutions are much more regulated. They have several compliance they have to follow. So they have to use cautions while trying any new technology. And Gen AI is very, very new. It's like not more than 1 or 2 years old since we saw the maturity of the models and all. And there is a lot to discover in Gen AI. So that's why financial institution has to be a little bit careful. If we look at yesterday's incident, also DeepSeek, they got the maturity of what ChatGPT or OpenAI has. And immediately they were hit by a cyber attack. So they have to
Yeah.
stop, user registrations. So there is a lot to discover in terms of Gen AI, and it poses some good advancement where you can enhance your existing threat modeling. You can use how you can link with the geolocation. You can discover some unknown pattern which not have been discovered yet with that digital fingerprinting of devices, geolocation, or the IP addresses from where the attacks are coming. So there is a lot to discover in this area. Industry start already going in that direction, but as financial institutions, you have to go a little bit carefully. So there are some advancements happening in that direction, but it is not fully leveraged yet.
Yeah, and glad you brought the cyber attack from yesterday up. What that tells you is, this is real. Real-time detection is important because the hackers are a step ahead of us, right? So for us to be proactive in defending our digital assets or any of the data assets that we have, I think using AI capabilities in cybersecurity will help us because they can do pattern recognition at scale, right? The scale is there. They can do pattern recognition at scale. They can adapt to new threats without explicit programming. So the adaptive nature, the pattern recognition at scale, all these are important features, and they allow you to be proactive by helping you do risk assessment at scale, vulnerability and mitigation at scale. So just the ability to analyze with scale, and the ability to help you be proactive with unstructured data, right? This doesn't necessarily come to you in a format or in a structure, but AI can help work with unstructured data too. So success in all these areas, I think I'm beginning to see, although my current client is hesitant to even record meetings, something we would use in order to generate AI based notes, right, for meetings. Our clients are hesitant to record video meetings. So where do you start, right? In an organization that is very, very conservative, where do you start? You start with processes that are manual and that add a lot of time into their daily work. KYC, if you look at the startups that are using AI to speed up and automate KYC in a secure and operationally efficient manner, I think we are heading in the right direction. It could be slower for financial institutions. Some of the marketing and some of the other functions have adopted faster, but for good reason. I think it's important to acknowledge why there is hesitation and then look at the spots where improvement will bring big change.
Yeah, so I guess they want to address the low-hanging fruits first and also get a good return on investment. And we have also seen in the past that especially in North America, the BFS industry is slow to adopt, and they learn from the other bigger banks and institutions across Europe and Asia Pacific, trying and adopting newer solution. That also gives them comfort, because some of the banks are global. So if they roll it out in one region and the kings out, so it's also easy for them to expand and adapt to other regions. So that's an interesting perspective. I know we talked about few use cases also as a response to this. So we'll probably dive deeper into all of them in the further questions. So my next question is to Amardeep. I know you are the author of the book Building and Delivering Microservices on AWS. With microservices, obviously, the legacy modernization brought everything into as a service model, microservices model. But the data is often distributed, right? So how do you ensure security between the data flows between different third-party providers, or even internally between banks? They run different divisions like different companies, right? So how do you ensure security between data flows while leveraging AI on top for cybersecurity?
I don't want to make it a sales pitch, but those who haven't bought the book Building and Delivering Microservices on AWS, it is available on Amazon. And this book, I talk about what the microservices is and how this architecture is different from traditional monolithic architecture and what is the challenges it poses. So one of the challenges comes in terms of security and the automation, that in traditional systems, you have to deploy a single unit or single deployable unit. So your threat surface is very small. You are protecting or safeguarding only a single applications. But in microservices architecture, you break down your application into multiple components. And sometimes it is, maybe in hundreds. So instead of safeguarding a single service, now you have to safeguard hundreds of those services, and which poses increases your threat surface and blast radius. So you have to consider security from the ground up so that you can make your data secure and it is not vulnerable. So you have to start with data encryption. So either you are exchanging the data from point A to point B, or you are storing it. You have to think about data encryption. Authentication and authorization is another aspect that you have to go with the zero trust policy, where you are using or TLS, or you are using zero trust, where only need basis people are knowing about the data. Another thing is like you exchange large amount of data because your data is flowing between these services. So you have to think that how to mask that data, and whoever needs access to that data, only those folks are accessing that data, or those services only accessing the data. And with the regulatory requirement, GDPR, PII, PCI, you have to learn that how to identify any personal information or payment information, how you can mask it and anonymize. And that's where I feel like Gen AI or AI altogether, it's really helpful, where you can run the natural language processing, you can detect any person, entity, any payment information, any social security numbers, and all those things. So you have to make sure that you are encrypting and anonymizing that information. Sometimes it happens like you're protecting at your REST layer and your transit layer, but when data is being logged or something, developer didn't notice and they, kind of logged the entire payload coming from one API call to another API. So you need to safeguard all those things. And that's where I feel like Gen AI or the solutions related to AI can really help to protect that data by automatically detecting and start anonymizing that. Another thing is you have to be really careful with the microservice architecture that how you're going to audit all of that information and generate proper alert whenever you see unusual patterns in your logs or you are getting a traffic which you should not be. So AI can help detecting those patterns. Those threat modeling have been done in the past also, but with the advancement of Gen AI, you can uncover all those patterns much faster way and you can correlate those patterns to each other and see what is going on in your system. So those are some of the challenges and ways to handle in microservices architecture.
Okay. Thanks so much. I know you touched on, privacy. So there are different, privacy controls or even requirements. You have CCPA, you have other regions, and depending on the specific product that you have, you talked about, PCI. So there are different nuances around, privacy. So question to, Srini. So how important do you think, the data strategy and considerations, especially while leveraging AI to make sure that the different region um, privacy requirements are met and, you don't violate because, AI has access to, everything.
Yeah. So just I'll give one hypothetical example. So imagine a world where every time you paid for groceries, someone will know what you bought, how much you paid, and or like every time when you apply for a loan, mortgage loan, your financial history was broadcasted like somewhere, or like somebody is looking at that information. To be honest, like this is not a fantasy like what I'm talking about. In a hyper-connected world of banking or the financial institutions, like what we are going through the transformations, like the data what we are collecting, this scenario is a very real threat. If we don't treat the data very well, which Aman was talking about, like some of the aspects, definitely, like we are in a big trouble. We are swimming in the ocean of data. Every transaction, every click, and every interaction, we are generating a digital footprint. So by this, like especially for in the BFSI sector, data is a gold mine. Whatever the activities we want to do it, like whether it would be personalized offers, fraud prevention, and risk assessment, or whatever the products like we are building for the customer satisfaction. But definitely power, like this is the power, right? The ability to give these kind of products to the customers to have more convenience and experience. Like we need to treat that very well, data very well. So what we need to do is like we need to have a robust data strategy, making sure that like we need to prioritize privacy by design. So like we need to have those practices in place all the way from data collection, data ingestion, data curation, and then like especially all the way to disposal. Every aspect of like we need to have these privacy policies in place. And we need to invest in the cybersecurity, making sure that like cutting edge technologies like in the especially adopt those secure practices, and also ensuring that like transparency. So open and honest with customers. Customers are okay to collect the data, like give away their data as long as it is being used responsibly. So as part of the privacy considerations, like what we need to consider is like we need to get a customer consent, making sure that uh, before collecting the data, we need to have the consent from the customer, and we need to minimize the data, means collect when it is necessary, not collecting every piece of information. And the big thing is the permissible purpose. Once you collect it, whatever the purposes you collect that information, use only for those purposes. And maintain data privacy, especially data retention policies. Retain the data as long as it is necessary. And the big thing is like what Aman was talking about, data in transit, data at rest need to be secured, making sure that proper policies are applied. So definitely, all these, as long as we apply these kind of policies, secure practices, following secure practices into the data pipelines, definitely will secure our data. So all in all, data is the lifeblood of banking industry. It needs a proper respect, making sure that we follow the proper secure practices. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Srini. I know you touched on shopping and customer experience. So my next question actually is about customer experience, right? How does AI play a role, or what can we do leveraging AI to improve customer experience? Now, especially when you talked about privacy, we need to get the consent of consumers before we can use the data. And also now the consumers have the power to request for what data that a particular organization has about them, and also to even delete the data. So that is part of customer experience. But in general, when people have a bank account or loans, and you talked about loan products as well. So Sangeet, the question for you: how do you think AI can be leveraged to enhance customer experience? While we talked about data privacy requirements, data security requirements, and also cybersecurity.
Yeah, so and this comes from experience as I've worked on personalizing experiences while I was on my AT&T MarTech team. Um, Privacy, caring for privacy, you're also caring for security in a way, right? When you are doing identity resolution of who is coming on your website, and if it's not an authenticated experience, for you to know who they are based on their behavior, their transaction, there's a lot of data you're collecting about your customer without their knowledge. So it is important to have consent in place with the promise that you will deliver an experience that will delight them, right? And banking, digital banking experience is no different. When they log in, they expect to get personal product recommendations for their services. They expect them to conduct their business, a legitimate business, without all your risk measures impeding them, slowing them down. You don't want you need to have that balance in your risk measures, in your detection and your solving for that risk, without actually impeding their experience. They are expecting the same experience with banking as they would with any other vendor. But how would you that's the beauty of Gen AI, or not just Gen AI, AI in general, right? You use AI for product recommendation. For example, you are building a propensity score in the background for a customer on which product they are more likely to buy. At the same time, you are continually updating your risk score too. So as they are conducting their transactions with you, you are also in the background, either through enhanced biometrics or enhanced behavior analysis of clickstream data. You are improving your own risk scoring about them. And at any point you detect an anomaly, or at any point you detect um, something that is deviating from their standard behavior, you are updating your risk score, and that will help you be proactive, ask for multi-factor authentication, or put a stop on their transactions. So I think there is a lot of opportunity in that space. There is also a lot of risk in that space. And I think this space is continually evolving. So I'm happy to be in tune with this, having been a practitioner for many years, delivering delightful customer experiences. I can't wait to let AI help make it more delightful, and help me assess risk and proactively work on it as well. So yeah, more to
I
come. I
think
think this
in
is a
addition to,
dynamic
yeah,
space.
correct. Yeah. No, I think, leveraging AI for bringing customer experience, reducing the risk, thereby, enhancing the safety and security of, consumer data. I think it also helps to bring the cost down, right? Because the more controls, more requirements that, we have, traditionally we've been throwing, more people to do the work, and that inherently raises the cost of doing business, which, in turn finds itself into the consumer products, right? Higher rates of loans, or, this fees, that fees, etc. So now I think if technology plays a major role, it also helps bring the cost down, but while, keeping the same or improving the experience for the consumer. So that's a good perspective. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, so you are able to use your, either chatbots or your customer service to even improve response times, right? You can carry context from where your chat team left to, your customer service team picks up. There is all those are well known benefits, but I think costs down. I've had challenges in building a roadmap and a business case where there is an upfront capital cost investment needed to show multi-year cost reduction. So it's an art. I'm learning, but yes, I think cost is a well-known uh, you know benefit there.
Yeah, understood. Thank you. So now we talked about the microservices, we talked about legacy modernization, and we also heard with the new administration in the US, we're spending billions and billions of dollars creating AI infrastructure by creating more data centers and infrastructure, right? And all of the companies, not just banks and financial services institutions, but most of them migrated from their legacy environment into cloud environment. Obviously, we all know cloud is not cheap, um, but it has its own inherent benefits in terms of flexibility, scalability, and maintenance with ease. Um, so, what are some of the challenges that you guys feel? Because some of the banks still hold some data on their on-premise data center. They don't want to let go of that, even though they have some in their private cloud, some hybrid, and almost nothing in public cloud. But what do you guys think about the challenges and potential solutions for implementing AI and bolstering your cybersecurity from a cloud environment standpoint? So, Amar, do you want to take a shot at that?
Sure. So we have to understand that why we are going towards cloud, and there is some cost benefit for sure because you don't have to manage those environments with the minimum manual intervention, and it's speed up your innovation also. That if you have to play around with AI or any other innovative technology with the button click, you can go and experiment with it. But there are challenges implementing AI. One of the challenge which when you go to the cloud environment is that scalability and data volume, because cloud environments generate massive amounts of data, making it difficult for AI systems to process and analyze everything in real time. Because if you're not doing the analysis in real time, it's not very much valuable for you, because somebody make a fraud, that person will go through it if you don't detect it timely. Another challenge with the cloud environment is the dynamic and distributed nature of the cloud. Because your cloud infrastructure is highly dynamic, you are scaling up and down, and you are also, spinning up in region A, where like it's in US, and another region might be in Asia, or another might be in US. So it's a very dynamic in the nature. So how you make sure that you have the baseline security and you have all the AI to catch those things. Another thing is like when you pass through any data, like AI models generate a lot of false positive, which can overwhelm your security practices and teams, because you will get so many alerts, and over time, if you start realizing that those are not actionable, it becomes obsolete. And another thing is that with the cloud environment, that your threat keep evolving, because cloud is open to the world. So people know already what is going on in the system. They educate themselves much better. For your private system or private data center, that risk might be a little less, because nobody knows what rules you have implemented, and they don't get often to try and trial and error methods. Another challenge with cloud comes is like have to open up certain gates, because you are integrating legacy system which might be sitting in your private data center. And another challenge comes with cloud is like you are not just committed to one cloud provider. You might be having a hybrid policy or multi-cloud strategy, where you have to bring things such that way that one cloud provider doesn't become a bottleneck for you if they are down or their cost is going much higher. So you have to take everything into the consideration when implementing um, Gen AI or any AI solution. So what I feel like to address these challenges, you have to first of all prioritize your data and filter your data, and only feed to AI system what is necessary. You might be having a lot of things which are not relevant for you or which are not high risk. So based on your risk score, you should try to implement AI solutions for any threat detection and modeling. And another thing is, instead of try to implement your own things, you should try to find tools which are cloud native. Like, if you go to AWS, you can leverage solutions like guard duty, which can detect, different data getting generated or different resources. You can pull those in, and you can find out if they detect any incident happening. You can implement automation also to immediately resolve it using AWS Lantern also. And similar way, like if you are on Azure, you can utilize Azure Security Center, or if you are Google Cloud, you can use Google Chronic. Another thing is like your AI model has to be adapted, because there is a lot of things keep changing in the cybersecurity space. There are new vulnerabilities being discovered, and people know how to exploit those. There are new ways of doing fraud are happening. So whatever the model you are picking up, it has to be more adapted, and should be able to quickly find out the solutions for that. Another thing with cloud provider is like you can detect the anomalies in the system, but you need to know the context of it. If I give an example, the credit card fraud detection have been in place for longer time, and you can go and find it out if somebody is in US and he's trying to do a shopping in Dubai. That person is not in Dubai because the base location is. So you can have those static rules. But if you have AI, it can give it more context. Like if you have booked a ticket, some time back for Dubai with the same credit card, it gives more context to the AI model. So AI model can detect it from your transaction history that this person is expected to travel to Dubai. So instead of blocking them for their purchase, you can allow. So that adding that context really help, increasing your efficiency of your models. So those are some of the things you can use to, overcome the challenges which we have implementing AI in microservices or cloud native solutions.
Thanks, Amar. One follow-up question though. So, we have seen widespread, outages or, downtime when it comes to, let's say, Microsoft had that with Office 365 bringing, everything down. And then we saw that with CrowdStrike and, some of the companies like Delta Airlines, out of water for, a number of days. So how do you prevent those things? Because, they were just relying on cloud, and if that provider or that service or third party is down or has issues, so is there any guidance that you can provide to avoid such scenarios? Because technically you're down because somebody else is down that you're using.
Yeah, so I think one of the challenges, or I think it's all space which is evolving. So if you have your DR strategy properly planned and you are regularly your DR strategy testing out, I think you can overcome those changes. And also, you need to have automation built in from day one when you start writing any microservices or any solution. So you need to start implementing practices like chaos engineering, which is going into your cloud provider and intentionally turning off different parts of your system. So you know that how your system will behave when one of or another components goes down. So you have to start planning and make it as part of your practice. And if you continuously start doing, uh, kind of, create some honeypot and all, and see how it is behaving when somebody try to actually make it exploit your system. So you can learn from those patterns and start preparing your system for those things. So having a solid DR strategy, high availability, deploying into multiple regions and multiple clouds can help you to overcome those challenges.
Okay. Thanks, Amar. Given that we have probably only 15 minutes left, I want to pick up the pace a little bit to cover a little bit more number of questions. So next question is for, Sangeeta. What are some of the practical examples of how AI can improve real-time, threat detection, right? I know we talked about it in some of the, previous responses that we can use patterns, but, if you have any insights into practical examples of how we can do that.
Yeah, so when I was with AT&T, I think we had a cybersecurity product that we sold, and there was a lot of traffic pattern detection, any anomaly detection. A lot of it was done real time. You can identify, any account takeovers that happen, either through changes in user patterns and so on. And a lot of this needs to be done real time. And I agree with, our panelists here. The value is being able to bring a lot of this real time, whether that's assessing your behavioral biometrics or, assessing your SSL and your traffic patterns, or be able to preempt a DDoS attack. So some of these are well known, but in many ways, for example, you were talking about cloud migration, right? Being able to automate any configuration changes that were not authorized, internal or externally done, right? As you're on the cloud. Some of these can be kept in place, detecting any social engineering that's happening within the company, internal threat or external threat. Some of these smaller use cases can be acted on pretty immediately to see great value. And I think those are some good examples. I won't go in depth. My peers here have covered a lot on some of the very practical examples, but some less thought out is to be able to go next gen at some point, uh, support continuous authentication, zero trust architecture, right? All of these are can be implemented for some real um, value that you can get right away. Actually, these are already available.
Okay. Thanks, Sangeeta. So follow-up question to that, right? So, we talk about protecting our infrastructure, assets, etc. But even the bad actors are leveraging, AI. So they're also getting, smarter, right? As enterprises build controls around them, they're trying to figure out ways to circumvent and infiltrate into, your infrastructure. Because, Gen AI as a technology, is helping both the good actors and the bad actors. Is there a way we can be one step ahead in protecting our assets, countering the Gen AI based attacks that come through? Amar, if you want to take a crack at it.
Sure. So I think with the recent times, ransomware becomes very common, and those guys or the bad actors become really, really smart, and they start doing double extortion also. So they steal your data before they start encrypting, and then they try to release on, dark web. So they first, gonna charge you for unencrypting your data, and then they're gonna charge you that we will post it on the dark web if you don't pay more. So it becomes a double extortion. So threat is real, and we have seen in recent time a lot of hospital industry was got impacted by that. And some of the popular WannaCry, Lockbit ransomware. So we have to be smart enough that we can stay ahead in the game as compared to those bad actors. And we should be able to detect those, threats when it is happening. So we need to start using AI-powered, threat detection identifiers. So we have to be smart enough and implement those pattern detection techniques. Like whenever you see any unusual patterns happening in your network through those logs, you can try to isolate it. And you need to have automated incident response. So whenever any threat is happening, you are able to basically not just able to detect it, but also have a plan to how to handle it. And that is not happens in the industry a lot. So you have to have a proper incident response team, which knows exactly when the attack is happening, how to isolate that particular resource, and how to immediately start analyzing it, what is the damage, and minimize that damage. Another you can do is like zero trust security model, which we all know, but adding multiple layers of multi-factor authentication and continuously monitoring those unauthorized access either through internal actors or through external actors, that can make us smarter. And another thing is we can have like AI driven backup and recovery. So we can do the predictive analysis whenever any unusual activity is happening on a file or any encryption pattern we detect. So we can automatically trigger the backup of that. So that way, if somebody encrypted your file before it lock it out, you have a proper backup. Because these ransomware, it does not just encrypt the data. Sometimes they go and delete the backups also. So you don't have a way to recover it. So we need to use AI-driven, backup and recovery model. Another thing on the deepfake side, you need to have machine learning algorithms which can analyze the facial movement, voice inconsistencies, and metadata to detect if there is any manipulation happening. And this, deepfake is really, really, uh, uh, big challenge for individuals or like celebrities, because you have seen on the social media a lot of fake videos getting circulated which they personate to be someone else. And personally, one of my relative also got impacted because of this. There is some hackers were able to get the sample of the voice and they generated the voice demanding money. So those things happen and those challenges are real. So we need to smarten and start utilizing, blockchain or AI tools to, do the proper authentic video or any proof or detection of whenever any bit is modified of the data.
Yeah. So it's almost
We
like
could
you
also,
have software for detecting, students doing homework, whether it was AI generated. So there is again a AI based tool to detect whether the homework or the classwork, whatever was submitted, was written or generated by AI. So sorry, Sangeeta, you were saying something. Go ahead.
no, I wanted to add to that, the incident response team and with agentic AI frameworks, I would love to explore how that can be applicable so that we are not waiting on a manual review or a manual investigation. Can the agentic AI framework actually just respond, be a portion of that incident response team, if not the entire team, right? I think some of those can be explored as an option.
I think I would like to add like what I was just saying. So we need to learn about continuously keep learning about these threats, because whatever is open in the market or in the web, it is all vulnerable. So if you start doing like proper code scanning, you will know the code vulnerabilities. So you have to start your security from day one when you start writing code. and you need to get smarter and smarter, and your security team has to be expert enough in knowing what are the immediate threat or what are the new threats coming in. So having a honeypot kind of environment where you control the environment and let it open for the threat detection, and where that anybody is trying to use of that environment, your security team can monitor it in the real time, and they can see what are the tactics or patterns it is generating out of it. And then you can start strengthening your security policies and safeguarding the actual systems.
Okay, sounds good. So I want to circle back to Srini on one point that you talked about during the opening, right? Um, I think based on one of the survey that was done by Information Systems ACA, Audit and Compliance Association, the output was concerning because about 45% of the respondents say that in their enterprises the legal compliance or the risk groups were not involved in any of the decision making on the adoption of Gen AI based solutions, right? But I think it has a huge repercussion on all of these stakeholders being involved in such decision making. So what do you think should be the overall governance in setting up or leveraging AI-based solutions for your products?
Yeah, as we were discussing, right, like a Gen AI holds immense potential actually, be it hyper personalization or fraud prevention and all. But it needs to have a robust governance framework, which is essential to mitigate risk and making sure that like there's a proper ethical use and to maintain the customer trust. That's that those factors are the key. We need to explain explainable AI using that making sure that we should be able to explain the credit scoring. A bank using the generative AI, like let's say using the credit score, ensures that model decisions are transparent and explainable to the applicant if the applicant request has been denied. And also if there are any bias are there as part of the decision making, those things also should be able to explain it. If the applicant got rejected or their credit scores are impacted. There are a couple of key pillars of governance area, especially making sure that we have a proper accountability. Need to have a clear line of responsibility for Gen AI solutions and their outcomes. There should be someone who can explain what happened, why it happened, and then a transparency. We need to maintain the transparency, understanding how generative AI models work. That's important. What kind of data you use it, what kind of a data used to train the models, and then the outcomes. And then other one is the compliance, making sure that we are whoever is adopting the generative AI applications follow the industry governance practices, adopting them, making sure that they evolve as they evolve. But at this point of time, the regulatory requirements are pretty gray, they are also evolving. Who knows, right? Down the lane, the regulators also start using the Gen AI capabilities. And coming to organization structure should have a cross-functional teams consisting of experts from technology, legal, compliance, and business experts who will have their diverse perspectives to address all aspects of Gen AI concerns. And another thing is monitoring the outcomes. The model monitoring is important. Continuously, making sure that models are good and they are giving the enough responses with proper performance, no bias, and then data drift is happening. As we get the different type of the patterns of the data, we need to mature the models. And another big factor is you need to have human in loop, making sure that there's a human oversight of whatever the results happening. Those are the factors that we need to have it. So as I was mentioning, right, Gen AI is rapidly evolving, and governance standards and then regulatory requirements are also evolving. We need to be adaptable, making sure that we adapt those changes from the regulators and stay connected with the regulators so that organizations will be more effective and efficient without no bias or any kind of a explainability to the customers.
Sure. Thanks, Srini. I know we're coming up on time. So, quick question to Sangeeta. So how do you think, we can balance the AI and the human oversight that, Srini was talking about? So what's been, your experience and, recommendations that companies should follow so that we don't leave everything just to AI to avoid the biases that, Srini was talking about?
Yeah, so when you think about, having a working component, that's your AI. It's helping you become efficient in your operations. But when you think about strategy, right, that's when you want human intervention. A bias is a great example, right? So you have to, although it helps you with investigation, it helps you with regulatory reporting and automate some of that, there has to be oversight on that reporting, right? The reports, the results have to be vetted with a team of strategic advisors who can continually monitor and remove the bias. And this is real, especially with the financial institutions, where you with your risk scoring, with your product recommendations, um, you may be depriving a legitimate customer of products, or unnecessarily flagging risk on a legitimate customer. So this has a lot of implications, especially if they're applying for a loan and this is well known, or a product you don't want to take the legitimate out. So to be able to continually improve, because at the end of the day, AI is, it's a game of probability. It's your confidence score. It's the highest probability, but that doesn't mean it's 100% correct. So I think to ensure that kind of confidence, you need to have human intervention.
Thank you. So Nitin, how are we doing on time? We just have probably a minute left.
Yeah.
Okay, so I saw some questions come through, and I believe we answered some of them, like the balance between AI and human intervention. Sangeeta just, responded to that. And then we also talked about the bad actors leveraging AI and how can we one-up them, by preventing that. I believe Amar answered that. Then another question is challenges about adoption to change with AI for business community in their organization. How do they handle the trust deficit? I didn't follow the question. So I think they are asking about how do you handle the trust deficit, which is probably leaving everything to AI, and how do you, trust that it makes the decision. And I believe that relates to what Sangeeta was talking about. For, some of the decisions, whether you're approving a loan or a product, you need to consider having some review done by a human to avoid bias across different parameters, right? Race, sex, color, nationality. So I think we have seen that in instances even without AI in the past, where they were leveraging rule-based systems, and that was not scoring well for some demographic population, right? So I think with Gen AI, that is not going to go away. I believe we need to have, for those critical decision making systems, a human in the loop to avoid and also to improve the trust in the system. I think those are the questions. Any closing remarks or thoughts from the panelists?
I will just add one thing, that or Gen AI is not a buzzword like we see with different technology and then fade out after. So it's a thing. So last few years, like industry was going to services and all, and Gen AI. So we all need to get involved somehow. We are learning and encourage also, or we take seriously and start digging into it.
And even quantum computing, right? So that's a real thing
Yes.
now. We have seen technologies where it can compute things faster than even the 14 billion years of Big Bang theory, right? So they said that it can take so much. The fastest computer now with quantum computing, it takes only a couple of hours. So yeah, all of those things are real. The sooner all the industries are trying to take advantage of the features, it's, I think, beneficial for them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd like to add that.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Sangeeta.
So thank you. So I'd like to add that AI right now has to be considered as your most efficient assistant, right? Please leverage the capabilities, please leverage what the new emerging technologies bring. Yes, security and privacy are big concerns, so care for them, but definitely the assistance that this technology is giving to help you spend more time on strategy and improving the roadmap of products you have in mind. I think that's the approach right now. Yes, it will be a while before we become, as smart, before AI becomes as smart as us. You are still the smart one in the room. So please, leverage AI to your advantage.
Productive purpose.
Yep. To add to Sangeeta's point, right? So the whole industry, is at the crossroads. So as Aman was mentioning, generative AI is no longer a futuristic concept. It is real, and those who cling on to outdated practices and resist, the whole concept of generative AI definitely will become obsolete. They will become a blockbuster of, whatever the industry they are in, whether it could be a bank or insurance company. So the goal here is, in every company, all the way from CEO to the bank teller, should, the whole leadership should invest in AI literacy, making sure that workforce with skills and knowledge to understand and utilize AI systems, and making sure that, following the agile governance practices. As I was mentioning before too, the regulatory requirements are not solid yet. So as they evolve, just adopt them, and foster the culture of innovation. What it means is, especially, start small, maybe start with internal applications to adapting it, and get the understanding of it, how it works, and slowly start providing the best customer experience in terms of the new product innovation or whatever it is, right? So, and making sure that prioritize the customer centricity is the key, providing the customer experience and personalized hyper personalizations and proactive support, in terms of operations or in any kind of a tickets. So definitely the future will be rewritten with these technologies. Stay tuned.
All right. Thanks, Srini, and thanks, Amar. I know Sangeeta had to drop off, but this wonderful conversation, a lot of insights, learning experiences, for us to share. I hope everybody found this useful. Back to you, Nitin.
Thank you, Natrajan. And let me put a closing remark so that we get into the act for the next few events which we have in the lineup. But before that, we want to express all our appreciation to the community partners who are with us till today, or all our distinguished speakers who came today to share the knowledge: Srini, Amardeep, Sangeeta, and moderator, obviously Natrajan. Thanks to all the attendees who came and engaged in this forum. We are sure the way we went into the minute details, discussed the key matrices, and discussed in details about AI in cybersecurity for financial institutions, it has given lots of knowledge enrichment and thought process to take back and put the same into practice into our areas where we are or want to work for. As our panel members were outstanding, we value their willingness to collaborate and share the valuable insights for today's webinar. In case any one of you missed any part of the session and want to revisit it, today's event will be available on our company's YouTube page for your convenience. As exciting technological advancements are on the horizon, we are thrilled to explore more in this year as well. Looking ahead, we have a diverse lineup for the events focusing on sectors such as banking, financial insurance, telecom, healthcare, retail, supply chain, manufacturing, and much more. So stay connected with us for this continuous learning. For more technological updates, visit our website and social media channels. We'll be sharing a wealth of knowledge, including details, announcement for our upcoming events, which will help you aid in getting the registration done. We look forward to your support. Please like and share our content on our social media channel. Heartfelt thanks to InfoVision, who is our knowledge and innovation partner, and Digit7, who is our technology partner. To explore more on them, visit their website, which is infovision.com, and dive deeper into the technological advancements. We thoroughly enjoyed bringing this session to you and hope you found it as enjoyable as we did. We eagerly anticipate more sessions with you in the near future as well. Till that time, take care and have a great day and year ahead. Thank you.